Why Iraq never found stability. Iraq sits on one of the most important pieces of land on earth. Iraq's geography is both its greatest advantage and its biggest curse. The country sits in the heart of the Middle East, surrounded by Iran, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Kuwait, and Jordan. For centuries, empires fought over this land because controlling Iraq meant controlling trade routes, oil, and regional influence. But geography also made Iraq vulnerable. Almost every major power in modern history has tried to influence, invade, or control the country in some way. And that constant pressure helped shape modern Iraq into one of the most unstable regions on earth. Iraq is extremely rich in oil. The country holds some of the biggest proven oil reserves on the planet. This should have made Iraq one of the wealthiest nations in the Middle East. Instead, oil became one of the reasons Iraq experienced decades of conflict. Oil brought foreign interference, corruption, power struggles, sanctions, and wars. Many analysts believe Iraq's resources made the country a geopolitical target, because whoever influences Iraq also influences global energy markets. Even today, Iraq's economy depends heavily on oil exports, and when oil prices fall, the entire country feels the impact. In 1979, Saddam Hussein officially took power. Under Saddam, Iraq became one of the most heavily militarized countries in the region. He built a massive army, intelligence networks, and a highly centralized government. Saddam ruled through fear, propaganda, and total control. At the same time, Iraq modernized rapidly. Roads, schools, infrastructure, and military technology expanded, but opposition was brutally suppressed. Political enemies disappeared. Critics were imprisoned or executed. Saddam wanted Iraq to become the dominant power of the Arab world, and that ambition would soon drag the country into disaster. In 1980, Iraq invaded Iran. Saddam believed the newly revolutionary Iranian government was weak. He expected a quick victory. Instead, Iraq became trapped in an 8-year war that devastated both countries. The conflict included trench warfare, missile attacks, chemical weapons, and massive civilian casualties. Hundreds of thousands died. Entire cities were destroyed. The war drained Iraq economically and left the country deeply in debt. But it also normalized endless militarization and violence inside Iraq. Many experts believe modern Iraqi instability truly began during this war. In 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. The decision shocked the world. Iraq accused Kuwait of hurting oil prices, damaging Iraq's economy, and stealing resources. But the invasion triggered a massive international response. The United States led a coalition that launched Operation Desert Storm. Within weeks, Iraq's military was crushed by overwhelming air power and advanced Western technology. The war revealed how vulnerable Iraq actually was. After the conflict, sanctions devastated the economy, infrastructure collapsed, poverty increased, and ordinary Iraqis suffered heavily. The country became weaker, poorer, and more isolated. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq again. The main justification was that Iraq allegedly possessed weapons of mass destruction, but no such weapons were ever found. Baghdad fell quickly. Saddam Hussein's government collapsed, but removing the government created a massive power vacuum. The Iraqi army was dissolved. Police systems collapsed. Government institutions stopped functioning. Suddenly, millions of armed and unemployed men were left in chaos. The result was insurgencies, terrorism, sectarian violence, kidnappings, and civil war. Instead of stability, Iraq entered one of the most violent periods in its modern history. One of Iraq's biggest problems became sectarian conflict. The country is divided mainly between Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslims, and Kurdish populations in the north. After Saddam fell, power structures changed dramatically. Different groups competed for influence and control. Militias formed across the country. Violence exploded between communities. Bombings, assassinations, and revenge attacks became common. At one point, parts of Baghdad became completely segregated by sectarian identity. These divisions weakened Iraq internally and made the country even easier for outside powers to influence. One of the most dangerous terrorist organizations in modern history grew directly out of Iraq's instability. ISIS used political chaos, weak security, and public anger to gain power. In 2014, ISIS captured Mosul, Iraq's second largest city. The group shocked the world with brutal executions, propaganda videos, mass killings, and online recruitment. Large parts of Iraq fell under ISIS control. Entire cities became battlefields again. The Iraqi military initially collapsed in several regions. Only after years of war, international support, and massive destruction was ISIS largely defeated. But Iraq paid a huge price. Modern Iraq is heavily influenced by both the United States and Iran, and that creates enormous tension inside the country. Iran supports powerful militias and political groups inside Iraq. Meanwhile, the US still maintains military and strategic influence. This turned Iraq into a geopolitical battleground. Sometimes Iraqi territory becomes a stage for proxy wars, missile strikes, militia attacks, and foreign operations. Many Iraqis feel trapped between outside powers competing for influence, and this prevents Iraq from fully stabilizing politically. In northern Iraq lies the region known as Iraqi Kurdistan. It is home to the Kurds, one of the largest ethnic groups in the world, without an independent country of their own. After the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, Kurdish populations were divided between Iraq, Turkey, Syria, and Iran. Despite having their own language, culture, and identity, the Kurds never received a fully independent state. Over time, Iraqi Kurdistan gained significant autonomy. Today, the region has its own government, its own military forces, and a political system that differs from the rest of Iraq. But the idea of an independent Kurdistan remains highly controversial. Neighboring countries fear that Kurdish independence in Iraq could encourage separatist movements among Kurdish populations across the region. Because of this, the Kurdish issue remains one of the most sensitive political challenges in the Middle East. Despite everything, Iraq is still standing, but the country continues to face major problems: corruption, unemployment, weak infrastructure, electricity shortages, political instability, and militia influence. At the same time, Iraq has enormous potential. It has oil wealth, a young population, strategic geography, and huge economic importance. Many young Iraqis want a completely different future: less corruption, less foreign influence, and more stability. But after decades of wars, invasions, terrorism, and political chaos, rebuilding Iraq remains extremely difficult. Iraq is not just another country in the Middle East. It became one of the most important battlegrounds of modern geopolitics. Almost every major conflict in the region somehow connects back to Iraq. And even today, the future of Iraq could reshape the entire Middle East once again.